The South African National Taxi Council is not supporting today's nationwide strikes led by COSATU and SAFTU. The two federations are out in the streets, as you've just been seeing. They're marching against, among other things, the high cost of living, as well as persistent load shedding. Let's talk about why the taxi drivers are not taking part and speak to SANTACO's Bafana Magagula, who's Chief Strategy Manager. Very good afternoon to you, sir. Welcome to the program. Let's start on that very point. Why are you not part of the shutdown today?
Thank you very much. SANTACO is not part of the shutdown today due to the fact that nobody has invited SANTACO to join this shutdown. And when the shutdown was arranged, we do not know where was it arranged from. We do not know what procedures were followed. And we only heard from media that certain organizations were going to have a shutdown on this day today. Therefore, we could not just be part of something as a structure that we were not part of from where it began. We believe that all structures knows us and respect us as a structure, and we have former as the Secretary General, President, were just as formal as them, and we needed to be involved in the beginning of everything to be part of it if necessary.
But from what I understood from when the federations were talking about this planned shutdown, it was pretty much open to anyone who wished to be involved, I beg your pardon. And I'm curious about why, if you were interested, I'm assuming you may have been, you did not reach out.
Precisely, you are correct, but at this point, SANTACO has its own way of doing things. We will not just be invited by someone or just climb a wagon that is already on a freeway and we don't know where it's going. And just say, because these people talk about what affects us, we just jump in, and we don't know how far they come from with it. SANTACO as a structure is talking to the relevant people who are supposed to deal with the matter of fuel levy and everything that affects the taxi industry negatively in terms of the economy. At this point, we are experiencing a very high volume of repossessions in the taxi industry. Therefore, we cannot just take a chance and just jump into something we don't know and fail our members. We need to inform them properly of any action that we intend to take. It's their vehicles that will be affected, and we are there to protect those vehicles from being repossessed.
Just on repossessions, when you say it's a high number of repossessions, are you able to give us a figure? How many drivers or your members have had their vehicles repossessed in recent time?
Well, all I can say now is a percentage that we have, that in terms of the members that are affected in the taxi industry are at 44%. Some vehicles have already been repossessed, and we are trying to get them back. We've got a few back, and we're still negotiating for those that are still in. Some are in possession of those legal documentations pending the repossessions, and we're trying to withdraw that, and some are already with the banks, and we are fighting to get them back.
So am I right, Mr. Magagula, to then say that for many of your operators, joining the shutdown today financially would not have made sense because it would have been a serious loss of income?
I missed you there.
Would I be right to say that joining the shutdown today for many of the SANTACO taxi operators would not have made sense financially because you would have lost income?
Look, every cent that we lose counts. If you lose one load of those 15 or 22 passengers, it counts to the pocket of that operator. And losing a day, which possibly might result in not just one day. We've already, people must understand that as a business, we come from COVID, we come from the looting, which led to some taxi ranks closed down due to the fact that some employees were not employed back to their places of employment. Some malls were shut down after the looting. The floods also had an impact in our taxi industry, and we cannot afford to injure the taxi industry further, and especially where we do that our own selves without having properly given it a good thought and came up with a good reasons as to what will we achieve after doing this.
And how highly did that consideration influence then the decision by SANTACO not to participate today? I know you said earlier that you'd not been invited during the planning phase, but the loss of income aspect, how much did that weigh on your minds when you decided ultimately to say, we will not be joining?
Well, at this point in time, we cannot calculate. However, we are made to understand that most operations are on and taxis are operating around the country, and we are still putting our ears on the ground to find out if there are places where there are disturbances, and then maybe at the end we'll be able to calculate as to how much losses have we suffered in today's action.
I want to go back then to the more substantive issues, right? The issue of rising fuel prices, interest rates are up. You were telling us earlier that some of your members have in fact had their vehicles repossessed in recent time. How would you like all of that to be addressed, and who would you like to address your concerns?
Well, at this point, we are talking to the relevant parties, one of them being the Minister of Transport, and I will not be able at this point to say how far the negotiations are, but as SANTACO, we believe that there will be success at the end of the day, and we will be able to reach a compromise which will be able to save the taxi industry by coming up with a solution of some relief to the taxi operators.
The challenge, though, for taxi operators is that even before the COVID-19 pandemic and the recent impact of the Ukrainian invasion or Russia's invasion of Ukraine on fuel prices, right? You had been an industry that had for long been saying that you are at a disadvantage, for example, compared to Metro Rail and the bus operators in the country because you are still not subsidized. That's been going on since the 90s. 2022, there's still no firm plan to do that.
Precisely, and that is why I say at this point we've got a new leadership whom I will say is more capacitated to deal with that matter, and not long we definitely will yield some results through the talks that are on the table at this point in time. We are aware of what you've just said. Unfortunately, as you are all aware, that unemployment affects the taxi industry, inflation affects the taxi industry, and possibly the results of any shutdown may come further with some 2-3 percentages adding on the losses as well.
You said this new leadership is more capacitated to deal with those challenges. How was the previous leadership incapacitated? When I say more, it doesn't mean the previous was not. When I say more, I mean as you move forward, you become more and more vigilant, therefore, and get more and more capacitated, which doesn't mean you were not capacitated before. The previous leadership has actually handed over what they've been doing, in other words, capacitating the new leadership with their new ideas to take over from what the previous leadership was doing, and We've lost Bafana Magagula with SANTACO, the South African National Taxi Organization, speaking to us, their association, talking to us about why they've chosen today to not take part in the shutdown. Well,